You're looking very
Cool.
cozy with your purple hat or whatever, pink.
Yeah, it's the brightest thing I own.
Very cool. Are you in Perth?
I'm actually in Brisbane. We moved back to Brisbane at the start of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what prompted that move?
Well, my wife and I have been traveling around. We sort of have this pattern where we move every 2 years, just sort of following work and following a whimsy, I suppose. But we decided to come back to Queensland and kind of lay some roots down.
Right.
Maybe look at getting a house in the next few years and just kind of stay in one place for a while.
There you go.
Yeah.
And how's the lockdown been for you, the coronavirus thing? Has it been kind of mellow or?
It's been really mellow, actually. Australia has been pretty, pretty lax, really. I haven't really noticed it. We've got a very little baby in our house at the moment, so it's we've kind of it's been perfect for us.
Yep,
We have to stay home anyway, so
I can imagine it would be. Yeah, it wasn't too bad here. We're out of it now, but everybody was starting to get a little stir crazy at the end, so they all wanted to go out and hit the bars.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I watch the news and see how well New Zealand has done. Like, it's just phenomenal, eh?
Yep. No, it's a pretty good job. I think everybody's pretty happy with how it turned out here. Rest of the world's a little shaky. We'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, you've got a new album out, Music for Dance 2.
Yes.
And there's 18 tracks. And I assume these tracks are kind of segments from different bits and pieces that you've been working on over the years. So maybe you can.
They are, yeah. They're all excerpts, yeah, from contemporary dance works from the last sort of three and a half years.
Right.
And they kind of highlights my favorite parts of those dance scores.
Right. Now, people who into dance music may be a bit surprised about it because that's not exactly what this. So
no, that's right. No, and when I say dance, I mean contemporary dance, which is a dance form. It's kind of an athletic form of expression, like ballet, but more contemporary.
How did you get caught up in that whole thing? Because it's not something.
No, it's I used to be a dancer, so that was my first kind of career, was contemporary dance. So I did a lot of ballet as a kid, and then I moved into contemporary dance and did shows and things like that. And then I've been writing music throughout that, and it so happens that most of my friends ended up turning into choreographers and directors and things like that. So it's sort of fortuitously fell on my lap that I started writing music for them at the same time that they started their careers. So it's kind of been a parallel thing, and now that's pretty much all I do.
Really? So, and it's sustainable as far as earning a living? Not that it's any of my business.
No, it's all good. You've got to make a crust. It's been really good to me for the past. I mean, at the start it was a struggle to find constant work, but now I'm having to say no a lot, and I earn good money, and it's great fun, and I love it.
Well, I think the thing I noticed most about the 18 tracks on this album is the diversity of the stuff. I mean, it's definitely not the kind of thing you can just kind of put on and, I mean, you can chill out, but I mean, one cut to another is very different. So
exactly. Yep.
How does that work as far as your method of composing? Because you got to be kind of thinking about what exactly.
You mean for each thing or for this collection?
Yeah, for each thing. I mean,
well, I guess the process is very collaborative with the director and whoever's making the show, the team, and I kind of respond very instinctively to what is required thematically and genre-wise. I'll just follow my nose with that. So kind of anything goes, and I've sort of taught myself to not be held back by always writing in a certain style, which I really love. Like, I love those happy accidents where you're like, oh, all of a sudden I'm writing some weird kind of Muppet Show tune, and that's completely normal for me now, which is fun, and it's a nice challenge.
Right. Well, I guess like a perfect example is Artemus Riding, which is about a 10-minute piano thingy, almost classical. Yep. And then it goes into this Bach song, which is this goofy kind of whistling with the, I don't know what it is.
No, neither do I. It's very unusual. I mean, and the thing is that a lot of these works are meant to have a visual element. So you're meant to sit in a theatre and watch a show and watch. It's in a theatrical context with a narrative and things like that. So if say that funny track that comes after Artemis Rising is a very sort of light moment within quite a dense world from that particular work, which is Owls Do Cry. So yeah, and then what I've tried to do with this collection is sort of balance the whole 18 tracks to be sort of like a good snapshot of, in its own right.
But I imagine you must have hours of music to choose from, and do you think about the visual, the fact that people aren't going to be watching anything when they're, or seeing anybody dancing when they're listening to this? So does that enter into how you chose these tracks?
It does, yeah. I have to think about that really carefully, because I do have a very close relationship with what it actually is with the show, like you say. So then I have to, like, I use my wife listens to things often and goes, no, you can't use that because it's some of the pieces have like a 5 or 7 minute build up before anything really happens, because everything is happening on stage and the score just needs to bubble underneath. So I've had to choose works that can kind of stand on their own and have their own trajectory outside of having the visual emphasis.
And I mean, you used to in the past do kind of pop and rock and stuff as well. Have you kind of given up on that completely and just concentrating on this, or do you see yourself dabbling in that again at some point?
Who knows? Yeah, I kind of gave it up a bit, just because it just sort of happened naturally that I fell out of love with writing these bitsy little songs. I wanted something really to sink my teeth into and release to the wider public, something that is closer to my heart, which is what I've been doing, writing music for theatre. So, but yeah, I mean, sometimes I pop out a track. And I definitely am interested in the spoken word and lyrics. So hopefully there's a future for some pop tunes. And there's definitely a lot on the hard drives that could be developed. So yeah, who knows?
So how do you go about? I'm just curious how the process goes as far as you getting kind of chosen to write something for some. Is there a pool of people that they choose from, or do they all just know you and you're the guy, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's pretty much the latter. It's all about relationships and theatre. It's all mainly I'll work with people that I worked with before these days. At the start it was a little bit like trying to sell yourself to people that you didn't know, and that's a really hard game. So generally I've built relationships with artists and directors that have kind of grown over time, and I've sort of become the go-to composer for certain artists, which is fantastic, because
that's a nice
that relationship it's great, and it only, those relationships only sort of deepen over time, and your understanding of how they work deepens, so it becomes a bit more sort of streamlined how you work with them, which is cool.
So who do you see?
The thought of me.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, the thought of me having to spruik myself to a director is quite scary. Like, I think the thought of having to do that again is like, oh my god, how would you do that? I don't know. I feel like a kid.
So these songs or these pieces of music are obviously based around visuals as well. So do you see yourself maybe making music videos that go along with them, or?
Yes, I have actually. Funny you mentioned that. I do make a lot of video material as well. That's kind of another sort of side hobby. So I've released one video from this, which is for the first track, which is Nothing Stands in the Way. So that's got its own video, which is out. And I'm just releasing another video for Orchids tonight, which is premiering tonight at 7 o'clock on Facebook.
Oh, so, good. Okay, we'll have to look for that.
Yeah, so some of them will have some imagery and dance stuff that have, and it's sort of like trying to make a new thing out of the material that we've got, rather than just it being like a recording of the dance and then that's the video. So I like to make a new concept for it. Yeah.
Cool. And the music itself, some of it sounds like actual strings, some of it's obviously electronic based, there's guitars. Is most of it being played by you, or are there other people involved?
Yeah, most of it's me. There's a lot of cello. I do a lot of work with a cellist called Helen Mountfort. And various other musicians who I get to play certain other things, like that Artemus Rising score. I can't play piano very well, so I get in a bunch of people, but predominantly all the electronic stuff and guitars and voices and all that sort of thing is me.
And who do you see as the audience for buying a collection of music like this?
I don't know. I hope I really hope in the future there can be a crossover for this sort of music with me. In terms of the people who would normally listen to, say, my solo sort of albums, like songs, may sort of delve into my weirder stuff. I mean, and who knows? But essentially, I think it's for a theatre audience. Because a lot of the interest that I've had in it are from people who have gone to the shows who go, "Oh, I want you to put out that. Why don't you put out that soundtrack? And why don't you release that?" And so, over the years, I've just kind of gone, "Well, it's time I did that." So well, this is a part of that exercise.
I'm curious because I go to a lot of gigs, but I don't go to a lot of theater stuff. So do you get a chance to interact with the audience and get feedback from them when these shows happen?
Yeah, I do. So I'll generally be part of the production period for the show when it's being constructed in the theatre, and then the premiere. And so, I'll have a lot to do with the making of it in the theatre, and then get to meet people and get their reactions afterwards, which is always pretty interesting. Especially when you're eavesdropping and you're not like getting approached by someone who knows you, who says, I love it, it was great. So you get to hear especially in the context of the work, because it's like, you really know when it works with the dance or with the play. So
And you mentioned that it's a collaborative effort to get this music made and written and produced. Who are you collaborating with? The director of the show? What kind of stuff do they talk to you about? And we kind of, I assume it's different with everyone.
It is a bit, sometimes at the very start of the process, say they'll share ideas about what sort of themes they're interested in terms of the narrative and the story, what sort of stylistic choices they're interested in terms of music style and genre. But often it's really not that specific. It can be generally someone who knows the sort of music that I write, and then I'll have a response to what they're making in the studio, and it's either hit or miss. So I'll make a whole bunch of little sketches, really short, little sort of palette flavors, and they'll go, that's that. And then you kind of, you work together and you have discussions about that, and you see what's working, and then gradually it sort of builds up this world of sound that belongs to that show. And then it becomes easier once you've sort of hit the nail on the head thematically, I guess.
And do you interact with the actual dancers as well?
Yeah, I do actually. I spend a lot of time in the rehearsal studio watching them create the movement, and because I've got a background in dance, I have a pretty strong understanding of dancers' vocabulary and how they communicate and what it is they're trying to kind of get across, because it's a very abstract art form, as you probably imagine. The moving body isn't exactly like a sentence that has a structure and that's automatically recognizable. So you kind of have to use your imagination So yeah, I've got this kind of understanding of how things move and the impact that sound has on the body. So that's what I kind of shoot for.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So what have you got up next after this, now that you've got this just released? Are you in the middle of working on another dance project, or?
Yeah, I've got a few things coming up. They kind of all bubbling away. The COVID has been a bit of a bugger for the arts industry.
Yeah.
Lots of things have been postponed till next year, so it looks like next year is going to be jam-packed. Hopefully, if things open up. But yeah, I'm still working on a few shows. I'm doing something with Rose Philpott for Footnote Dance, and I'm doing stuff with Co3 Australia in Perth, which is really interesting. And yeah, hopefully I'm going to just keep releasing this more esoteric music this year, because I've got a whole massive catalogue of it that I'm just going to keep feeding out this year. That's my goal.
Right. Well, it sounds like you might have a little time because of the live thing isn't happening. So this is a good chance to kind of gather up and reevaluate and look through.
That's it. And because I just see there's no point in me having music on a hard drive. So I just figure I'm going to put it out there, and this is the year to do it.
And planning on coming back to New Zealand at all? Hanging out? Doing anything?
Yeah, I can't wait to come back to New Zealand to see family and friends and stuff. It's been a while, because normally I travel back home for work a lot, so I get to see everyone a lot. But because of COVID, it's been impossible. So hopefully, if things open up between Australia and New Zealand, I can come back later on this year, maybe even.
Right. I've got to go up to the lab, which is just up the street from here, in a couple hours. Cool. So I imagine I'll probably run into Joel.
Yeah. Well, tell him hi from me.
I will, yeah. It's a small world, let's face it.
It really is. And he's everywhere.
He does seem to be everywhere. So you guys are both doing very well. It's good to hear, good to see. So hopefully good things continue to happen, and just keep this stuff coming.
Awesome. Thanks, Marty. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right.